Thanks for being here, everybody. Montana returns home for the third straight week to host Indiana State out of the Missouri Valley Conference this week. With us today, we have Big Sky Special Teams Co-Player of the Week, Ty Morrison, and Micah Harper, and Coach Hauck. And we'll start with you, Coach. Your final thoughts after an exciting win over North Dakota as another Missouri Valley Football Conference team comes here to Missoula in Indiana State.
Thanks, James. Yeah, that was really a great gritty win for our team on Saturday. I was obviously happy to get that victory, and we're happy to be 2-0. So now we have our second Missouri Valley Conference team in a row. It's always a challenge to play teams from their conference. They all do a really nice job. I think Coach Mallory does a great job there. He's a football guy. He grew up in a football family, and that shows up in how his teams compete just year in, year out, week in, week out. They're a competitive bunch, and we know they're going to come in here for a fight with us on Saturday. That's just how their team is wired. We played a few years ago. We ended up finding a way to win that game back there, and then I think that, a week or two later, they had an overtime game against North Dakota State, and I think that just shows how they are as a program. They don't back down from anybody, and we've got to be ready for that on Saturday. So they know how to get lined up. They know how to adjust. They know how to play hard. They've got guys that can make plays, and we've got to be ready for the weekend, and we have 5-6 days to do that. So we need a great week of preparation so we can play our best game of the season, which is what it's going to take. And we want to have a chance to win on Saturday. So this week's all about preparation for a good football team this week.
Questions?
Ty, when you guys get a big win like that, beat a ranked team early in the season like this, what can a win like that do for a team psychologically going forward this season?
Yeah, absolutely. Beating a team like North Dakota, who got the best of us last year, it's definitely good to get a win over them, get some confidence going into the next game that's going to be a tough game. And, we're looking forward to being able to play the best football that we can.
Like a similar question, just getting a win like that, how does that kind of set the table for what you guys hope will be a successful season continuing going forward?
Yeah, North Dakota is a great team. I played in the Big 12 Conference last year, seeing watching film on them, what they were able to do against Kansas State, barely, getting edged out at the end of the game. That's a huge win for our program, especially, early on in the season, setting the tone early. Last week we played a Division II school, and, just the turnaround to be able to play, one of the top teams in the country is big. I watched the interviews of what Coach Hauck said, after the game. We probably, would have a young team, that probably wasn't ready to win a game like that. But the fact that, we're gritty, we're tough, and we're able to, just find a way to win at the end of the day, is very, it builds confidence upon our team.
You keep that up, they're going to make me bring you every week.
Bobby, you've coached a lot of teams over the years. When a team has a big win like that early on in the season, how have you seen teams handle that mentally going forward, and how do you think this team is going to mentally handle getting such a big win so early in the season?
I think winning's easy to handle. Mentally, losing's not easy to handle. Winning's easy to handle. We'll be fine. When you win, everything's good.
You did say there were a lot of things you wanted to see clean up, play in a better game or a more perfect game. This week, just from what you've seen out of this team throughout the offseason and early on in this year, just what kind of tells you this is a team who's willing to take corrections and capable of making those week-to-week improvements?
I think our guys want to be coached. I think they're interested in improving. That shows up everywhere from the practice field to the meeting room to guys coming in wanting to know how they can play better as the L4 on punt return. It's a team that wants to improve, wants to be good, not afraid to admit mistakes or things they didn't do well enough. Not afraid to get coached, And those are attributes that'll, they'll be good for our team this year. They'll be good for our team this week, and they'll be good for each of these guys as they leave football in their future lives.
And for both players, we can start with Micah. Just what's it like for you personally, just taking corrections, especially coming off a win? And is it easier to make those corrections going forward?
Yeah, so, just with taking criticism, constructive criticism, I think that's going to apply in all, walks of life. Whether you're playing football or, working a corporate job in America, at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. There's always room for improvement. And I believe that, we have great coaches around here. It's part of one of the main reasons why I did come here. We got NFL coaches, people that played in the NFL, been in, areas where we want to be. And, they're great men, and, they're teaching us as well how to be great men like themselves.
Yeah. Taking constructive criticism, like Micah was saying, after a win is definitely easier. There are definitely things that we need to work on, and I am included in that. And working hard every day and coming in, taking the coaching from Coach Hauck and all of our other great coaches on our coaching staff is definitely important to us, and is something that we need to do in order to get where we want to be. By the end of the season, by the next game, we need to take our coaching seriously and get to where we want to be.
Ty, for you, this last game, just first field goal attempt of the year, right? So just speak to you, like your mentality, how you kind of stayed ready, and obviously not a stranger to kicking, but how did you kind of, what was that waiting process like, waiting a couple games and to finally get an actual field goal attempt?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been looking forward to this game since last year, and I was hoping to get a field goal attempt like that to, get my get back. I wanted to have an influence in this game in a positive way, and that was definitely something that I was hoping for.
Coach, you talked about Coach Mallory a little bit. Just does he have a distinct style that's kind of stood out? Obviously, you saw him in 22. Is there anything about what he's done in his career that kind of stands out?
Yeah, everything evolves, as I've said a couple of times on these Mondays that we've talked. So everybody changes and evolves, but again, they're a tough-minded team. They're not afraid to lean on their defense and special teams. I think they it's not hey, we try to outscore people or things like that, or we try to hold the ball and stay in the huddle and just play to our defense. They try to be good in all three phases of the game, and that's kind of who they are.
Offensively, I think their quarterback missed the Indiana game, but when you look at their offense as a whole, what kind of makes them go, and what stands out about him? Well,
he's really good in the RPO game. He can run it. He's not afraid to go run it, and that's the basis of their offense, and it's been good for him so far this season.
Then Micah, obviously another Missouri Valley team, as Coach mentioned. Just what do you like about that challenge, just to see another team who, the wins might not be there for Indiana State some of these years, but they are a team that plays in a good league. Like, what do you like about that challenge to see another Missouri Valley team this week?
I just like playing football at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what conference they're from, what state, what city. At the end of the day, just a time. We're just a team that loves to play football. It doesn't matter where we're playing at, but we do respect everybody at the end of the day. The Missouri Valley is a great conference. They, have been producing a team to go to the Natty every year, and we just want to represent the Big Sky in a great way as well.
Coach, I guess let's start with them defensively. And what do they do anything in particular, or anybody that stand out when you look at them on film?
They've got a couple of guys. I really like their safety, number 5. I think his last name's Clark. I think he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink for him a little bit on defense. They've got some big guys up front. They show up. We'll obviously know them better as the week wears on. That's the thing that popped off the film in terms of personnel. We kind of view them as a zone pressure team, and we have to work hard on that this week.
We'll start with with Ty and then Kaylee. So Ty said, he wanted that moment. What's that like when you have a guy that you feel, maybe confident in to go in that situation? And then Kaylee, you said after the game that, that's what quarterbacks dream of, to have that potential, game-winning drive. And what have you seen from him mentally as far as like wanting to be in those pressure-packed situations?
Yeah, I think just generally speaking, we have a competitive group. So guys are going to want to be out there. And that's why you play, is to go out and be in situations where you get a chance to impact the game. As far as confidence, if we didn't have confidence in guys, somebody else would be out there. We have confidence in our guys. Ty is who you referenced, and then Kaylee, same thing. He's improving as a player. I think the sky's the limit for him. I like the things he's doing, and he's got a grand total of 8 starts under his belt, and he grows through every one of them.
Micah, for you, what's it like as a teammate watching guys be put in those big situations? And obviously you guys are on defense to end the game, but you're watching Ty make a big kick. You're watching the offense go down and get the go-ahead drive. Like, what's that like as a teammate watching guys perform in those situations?
It's awesome, but it's also a testament of who we are as a football team and a football program. At the end of the day, we are the Montana Grizzlies. We're built on toughness, built on a lot of pride and tradition, and I think our coaches do a great job of putting us in positions in practice to simulate game-like scenarios just like that. At the end of the day, for us, I guess looking from the outside in, it looks like a hard moment or like a tough situation, but we practice that every day in practice. To end our practice, game on the line, winning the game. How are you guys gonna, win the game, win the fourth quarter at the end of the day?
Ty, you mentioned wanting to get out there to have that kick, but when the actual moment arrives and you have to hit a 42-yarder, and if you miss, the result's probably going the other way. Just what's going through your head when you're trotting on the field and lining up to kick that ball?
It's a lot of positivity, as a kicker, and I'm sure in a lot of other people's minds and a lot of our other players. When you envision yourself, you don't think about missing a kick or dropping that catch. You think about doing what you want to do and being able to help your team out in the best way that you can. So going out there, you see our offensive line, the guys who protect me and allow me to do what I do. Brooks Davis, who had a great game as well. He's a great holder, and Grayson gets the ball in his hands. So those guys all let me focus on what I need to do, and that's whether that's punting or making a kick. They surround me with good dudes and help me in that aspect.
What else?
Yeah, for Ty and Bobby, I was just going to ask you, was it perfect snap, perfect hold by Brooks there? And then Bobby, Brooks being a freshman, how did he become the guy who was the holder for you, and just how much trust you have in a freshman like that in those big situations where you need that, need a perfect hold to have a chance to make a good kick there?
Yeah, sort of back to Sean's question. If we didn't trust him, somebody else would be in there. He did the best job in camp and spring ball. That's why he's out there. I thought the operation was sound and on time, and then obviously if they go between the posts, they're all pretty. So that was good.
Coach, I did want to ask about the play to Davis for the touchdown, the second one. Obviously, it seemed like it was well-timed and well executed. I know it's a route concept you guys have used before, but just speak, is it something that you saw earlier that set it up, and just what do you think about the timing of that call and how it all played out?
Yeah, it's more about how they're playing on defense to a degree, whether it's a good call or not. And they were not going to get up and press in that situation, or at least we didn't anticipate it, and then they didn't. So that play call ended up being a great play call. Obviously, the execution of it was awfully good as well. I mean, you still got to throw it, still got to catch it, but it was opportune at that moment. Guy got caught with some dirty eyes and got beat, and it was good for the Grizzlies. Good?
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.